Lee, thanks for talking to us as you get ready for your weekend's game. But you've had a free week. I know there's been a under-21 game, but you've had a free week with your players. Has that been a benefit?
Yeah, we think so. It's not always just about work out there. It's about resting them up, recovering them well, which we've been able to do. When we've been able to work, we've had, good numbers, which always helps because the last 2 weeks you're sort of getting towards Friday by the time you get your group together. But this week's really helped. And it's always nice off the back of a positive result.
It's 7 points from the last night as well that you've gathered, a bit of momentum going. It's 1 point better off than it was this time last year. It's interesting that, isn't it? Because how things were after a heavy defeat against Chesterfield.
Yeah, you can understand that after the Chesterfield game, the concerns probably from the fans in terms of the results and not only that, not picking up a point at home again. But we've addressed that, like you say, 7 points in the last 3 games, which is a really good return. But we can't look at last year too much. We can't look at early start of the season. It's about progressing and hopefully getting better as each game comes.
One thing that never changes is when you do go on a little unbeaten run, it quickly changes all that feeling, doesn't it? From fans to everybody coming in, working day in and day out on the training ground.
Yeah, of course it does. And what I would say is the players have been brilliant, the staff. We know what we're working towards. We know what we want to look like. But the confidence has always been there from the players. It's nice for the fans, I think, because of the expectation from what happened last year. I think the expectations through the roof. So it's nice for them to see that we're able to compete still and play decent football at times to pick up points in this division.
You've had a good chance now to assess your squad that you're working with through the pre-season, through the games that have been played. Earlier this week you sent out Charlie Finney on loan. He's had a pretty difficult time through injuries. What's that benefit you're wanting him to get, and is there any more possibilities that could happen?
Yeah, well, I think it's good for Charlie. He missed a hell of a lot for basically a seasons of football. He's missed. So we had a good debate through the staff, rightly so. The lads are saying he ain't going to get up to where you want him to because he's going to get 15 minutes, he's going to get 10 minutes. He's been playing 21 football since he's been 17. So it's important that he goes out and plays a chunk of games and does that as quickly as possible. I know the manager at Buxton, he wants him to go in and play. They've got a suspension and an injury, I think, in that area. So it looks like he's going to go and play. No pressure from us. He's got to earn that right to go and do that. And I think that'll be good for him to play a chunk of games. He'll play in the FA Cup, which I've made the decision he can do. Just because if he goes out on loan to the level he's gone at, everyone's going to be in the FA Cup and it's going to be playing a game, missing for 2 weeks. So that's on me if we ever do need him when it comes to the FA Cup, but we're doing what we think's right for Charlie. With others, there will be some others that can go out on loan. Lunty falls into that bracket. Obviously missed a lot of football again last year, and it's getting them to where they want to be in terms of fitness and sharpness, and are we able to deliver that with limited minutes coming off the bench? So at some point Lunty will look to go out on loan. Finn, I think, has had a lot of what our players haven't had, so we want him to stay around and keep on improving with us. So there will be 1 or 2. Calamagius at some point, is he getting the games again? These players are playing 21 footballs from the first year scholars, so sometimes the 21s doesn't really tick the boxes in terms of what they need, but it'll be something we'll look at on a month-to-month basis on who we're going to let out and the reasons why.
The free agent market's still open, of course, and anything caught your eye, that you might be able to work with, or is it a case now of where you are, working now fully with the whole squad and see where it takes you to when the next window opens?
There's plenty out there that catch your eye. There's some good players still without football clubs. No, look, we're not. We if something comes along and it's able to fit in with what we've got, then of course we'll look at it. Absolutely. Recruitment lads are still doing that, but we're not constantly having meetings to the point we were obviously leading into the end of the transfer window, where you're looking at what areas and who there is available. But if something does come up which is going to improve us as a squad, then we'll definitely look at it. But there would be 2 or 3 players that you could go and pick, but obviously they play Championship and Premier League levels, so they'll hang around and wait. But it's something we're calm about, and if something does come up, obviously the fans will be first to know.
Well, last week you played a Morecambe side that was struggling for results, but have put in good performances against some good clubs already in League Two. This weekend it is Accrington, a bit similar in terms of the results-wise. What are you expecting from them?
Yeah, a really competitive game. They are super aggressive. They'll go man for man, literally man for man all over the pitch. Good players. They've got some lone players in there as well, supporting some experience, particularly the centre-half position. But it'll be a really tough game, and it always is going to Accrington. And if you're not prepared to do the basics as well as we've done for the last 3 games, then we'll get caught out. And I sound like a parrot, but they've got to be the messages to the players. Of course, there's areas we want to look to implement in the game, but it'll be a super tough game because, like I say, they're really aggressive. With that, if they win the ball back high up the pitch, they have numbers high up the pitch, so you've got to be mindful of transitions against them. But no, it's going to be a really tough game.
It seems strange that there'll be no John Coleman.
Yeah, it will. It will, won't it, for the first time for a few years? No, it will, yeah.
They've conceded 20 goals in total, and obviously they'll be trying to work on that. They've got to improve it, but that's got to be an area that your team can take advantage of.
Yeah, obviously we need to score more goals as well with that. But we can only get into them opportunities by working on what we need to with the football. I've commented our touches is on average is higher than everybody else in the division in the box. So the obvious there is, can we make better decisions when we get into them areas? And I touched on that a couple of weeks ago, just being a bit calmer. Us putting on the practices so they know exactly what they're looking for in terms of when they get there. But it's up to us, isn't it, to create them goal-scoring opportunities, to capitalise on them. We don't look too much into teams will look at they conceded 5, and teams go about shutting up shop a little bit with that. But it'll be a tough test, Graham. In both boxes, a real tough test.
And on the injury front, Tom Booth come back into the squad. I know you've been well pleased with how Philip Marshall has taken over at the moment while he's been unavailable. But the injury problem's just slowly getting better and better.
Yeah, and we're going to be like everybody, aren't we? We're going to have 2 or 3 out at a time, and I'm afraid that's the nature of football. We do the best we can with trying to monitor players and pull them out when we need to, but you can't wrap them up in cotton wool all the time. They need to be out there also playing football. But yeah, positive with Boovy. Philip has done well in the games he's played. It's up to him to continue that with Tom there waiting for when the opportunity comes.